Hello, my good people out there. Back with another food for your thoughts. This is something I've been thinking about and most definitely been seeing throughout the years of being a man that's in my 40 plus. I done witnessed a lot of these things and just some things that's on my mind that I wanted to speak on about it. Which is what I consider the most spoilest generation of all times, as so far as I see, which is the parents or grandparents of the 50's and 60's. You know, me personally, on some things, and I'm not perfect. I wasn't perfect child or grandchild, and I can't say that I would never dare to say I was a perfect parent or that I would be the perfect grandparent. But it was just some things of that generation that just, I feel that they really dropped the ball on, and it caused a ripple effect on my life, as well as, you know, those of us that got kids, which is their grandkids. And whether it's their grandkids or grandchildren or their children, you know, it caused a ripple effect, and it's a reflection of their legacy. You know, one thing that I think about, you know, that generation, you know, it's a lot of good of them. There's a lot of good ones out there in that generation. You know, but the majority of them, you know, I look at them as like I said, the spoiled generation. You know, the ones that drop the ball. And if they real enough with themselves, when I go through this, they understand. And remember, this is things that I've seen and heard, not things that I was told or manipulated to believe. So, you know, if this ruffles a few feathers and, you know, make some of that generation feel some type of way, I'm only going off of what you showed me, what I heard from you, you know. And I know it's probably a story or some reasons on why you carried yourself and done some of the things that you done. Maybe that's a missing part of the ingredient of this dish that I don't know. But what I do know, you know, I think it's very factual, you know, from my perception of what I've seen and heard growing up under this generation. You know, me personally, you know, first thing off, you know, this generation is very selfish. What I mean by that is, most of them, not all, didn't think about no one but themselves. They never took the time out to get to know themselves, love themselves, appreciate themselves, and figure out what their purposes of being on this earth is for. Therefore, they never taught my generation, and for some, the generation of their grandkids, how to look and learn these things as well, that I figure is very, very important to life, you know. But this same generation, they will point their figures at their children's generation. That's the generation before them, the one that they raised, or even the grandkids, you know, point a finger back at them and say they crazy, or, you know, some of the things they doing don't make no sense, and so forth and so forth, you know. Or some of some of the sayings is, I told you so, or you kids is crazy, or y'all kids is messed up, but they never took the time to realize everything we have seen and heard is just repeats of the actions and words that was displayed to us and shown to us from the generation before us. And this is something that, that generation got a problem with admitting to openly, most definitely, and probably wouldn't admit to this by themselves alone. We'll probably still blame whoever, or just point the finger at us. See, one thing that I didn't realize out of the years that I've been living, it's two ways to teach another human being. 20 to 30% of that is verbal or oral communication. The other 80 to 70% is action. To me, that's only two ways that you can communicate with another human being. For example, you have a grandparent that will give their grandchild, say, a car or anything material-wise, without showing them or having expectations out of them to work for it, earn it. Which, teaches them early in life that, you can have anything, but you gotta work. You gotta put some skin in the game. You gotta, show some dedication and show some initiative about yourself, instead of just saying and it's given to you. That's not how the world worked in any generation. Even though nowadays we living in I call it the new generation of the microwave generation. They like that instant gratification because everything is kind of instant in their world and their eye views, from watching things on the cell phone and getting information off of there to hell, even microwave dinners. Everything is just it's microwave. It's instant gratification. But even yet and still, they end up finding out some of them that's raised up under this type of mentality, the harsh reality of life, that you still gotta put some work in and some dedication and have a plan. So like I said, they get them these things, say a car, won't set up no type of arrangement. Say, look, I'm gonna help you out with getting a car. I'm gonna get this much, and you come with this much. And then after that child has done that, or that grandchild has done that, say, okay, all right, at this point, you gotta take care of this vehicle. This is an investment, but this is an investment that loses value quick. But it can help you gain more financial and physical freedom. But you gotta take care of it. It's your tool. And expect this out of that grandchild or child of theirs. But that goes along with walking that way yourself, showing that you appreciate your money, your hard work, and that you take care of your investments properly. Because like I said, 20 to 30, all 80 to 70, action. So another thing, they had no problem with saying or giving their grandchildren. They probably didn't do it with their children, and I can understand that, to a certain extent. But they had no problem giving their grandchildren, money, and some of them, especially grandmothers, love to brag about how they spoil their grandkids You know, how they can come, that's their babies, how they can come and get anything from them, and so on and so forth. So even with money, they don't teach them how to, okay, you want money? Come and do some work for me. Come help clean up around the house, come cut my grass, trim my bushes, you know, especially depending on what age they are, you know, and earn this money. You know, and after they earned it, let them know, okay, I'm paying you this, but how much you gonna save? You know, so that they can teach their grandchild to not get themselves in a different world of life, which is being trapped by debt, or better yet, depending on somebody else, you know, that can take full advantage of you when you're at their disposal, you know. So, and how to invest that money that they didn't earn, you know. But it's all about, you know, I guess, I don't know, flattery or just a saying. I done this for my grandbaby, my grandchild. They know grandmama got they back, you know. And these actions right here, it's not benefiting nobody. It's not showing nothing. If anything, it's imprisoning both parties. You know, it's imprisoning the grandparent, because you're going to put this kid in the mind frame that they can always come to you and run to you for whatever without thinking and having a plan on how they going to earn it and get it from you the right way. Then it imprisons you, because you got to spend your life, as long as you, remaining part of your life, feeling guilty or always giving to them, so that you can keep feeding that which you created. So even with that, you imprison yourself with that type of mentality and behavior. You know, it's funny how when you're selfish, you know, you don't do nothing but hurt yourself in the long run. And the sad part about that is these kids, you know, when their grandparents transition to another level of life, they stuck thinking that everybody gonna do for them and take care of them like grandma or maybe grandpa did. You know, when that's not reality. It's not real. You know, I feel anybody that say they out their mouth they love a person, they want the best for a person, but then you turn around and you set them up in life to be dependent on someone else, starting off with yourself. I could never imagine and see how that was considered love when you setting them up for failure. And some would get good, you know, before they transition to the next grandchild or, you know, somebody else in the family. Make sure you look out for such and such. You know, it's crazy. You want somebody to finish off something that you created that wasn't right. And you passing that burden, that liability down to somebody else. You know, instead of having expectations from the door out of all your grandkids. You know, just my thoughts on that. The other thing that I feel that this generation dropped the ball on is the fact that you know, you drop the ball expecting the next generation to know how to pick it up and dribble it. You know, those two age groups to me, like I stated before, was the spoiled generation. You know, in all walks and areas of life, from good jobs with good pensions and retirements, even the illegal game out in the street, the charges wasn't that hefty, it wasn't that much technology to trap them up. You know, even the government assistance system, you know, a good off of. I remember when stuff used to get delivered to your home. You know, just you know, like I said, that generation was just spoiled to me in all areas. You know, and the saddest thing about it, they wasn't thinking about, you know, the generation that was coming up before them. Why? Because most of them was out partying, doing themselves. You know, they either had that mentality, or they said it, or like I said, they showed it. what they was thinking with their actions. Like, hey, you got, for the next generation, you gotta get out here and get yours. And that's crazy because the generation before them sacrificed, died, marched, tolerated a lot to make sure that generation was in a better position than they was at their age coming up. But the generation from the 50's and 60's, all they cared about was themselves, partying, spoiled, doing them. And that's crazy. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the offsprings of this generation, should have been walking around with their hand out. I truly believe in everybody, like I stated up top earlier in this conversation that we having. Everybody needs to get out on their own, find their way, work their way, So I'm not saying nobody was expecting for anything to be given to them, But what I'm saying is, it's not even a pathway that was created for us. It's like after the generations of the, the 20s, 30s, and the 40s, after that generation got up in age and became grandparents, which would make them great grandparents to me. The path just, it was none, Yeah, it's just crazy. And like I spoke on earlier, a lot of this thinking could have been prevented, I feel, with that 60s and 70s or 50s and 60s generation or era. Could have been avoided, like I stated up top of this session here. Loving themselves, finding out what their purpose is, appreciating life, but instead it was just doing them, I guess, kicking it, partying, and screwing, And I do understand, and then when about the time the late 70s and 80s hit, they hit us with that bass in the hood, and I've seen a lot of families destroyed and a lot of people destroyed, which was another curveball they threw at us. I'm quite sure they had a curveball for the grandparents of my generation, the 20s and 30s and 40s era, even if it was just the alcohol, but this generation took it to a whole nother level, like most generations do. They take things to another level, whether it's good or bad. And the thing that I have made a video on this already, discussing this, you're a gangster, A lot of that generation, like I said, they ate good out there in the streets, but wasn't trying to set up no businesses or nothing like that, or maintaining them, so that they can get up out of the illegal hustle of life and turn it all legal and be able to leave something for their children to walk in and have and take over, and keep the legacy growing. Like I said in my gangster video, you want to be a gangster, you a gangster, Yeah, they did a lot of dirt. Those of the mafia family, they did a lot of dirt out here in the streets, pushed a lot of things that was illegal. Some probably still do to this day, but they always took on family values very seriously. They always was taking that money and trying to flip it to something legal, building a business, trying to get into politics or whatnot, just so that the generation behind them will have something better, another level of life to live at, versus starting all over or trying to pick up the ball and learn how to dribble it and get back on track with where their culture of people was trying to go. You know, and when they kicked it, you know, like everybody should, family should, you know, barbecues, family cookouts, barbecues or dinners or whatnot, you know, they celebrated success, you know, because they didn't accomplish another step in the master goal of their family and what they were trying to leave behind for the legacy. It wasn't just, you know, kicking it just to kick it, you know, drinking just to drink, hanging out just to hang out, you know. The women wasn't talking about, especially when it comes to that walk of life, that was a no-no for sure. Women wasn't talking about, you know, who screwed who done what, whose man they was gonna screw, or what man they was gonna screw next. You know, and like I said, don't get upset at me. You know, this is just what I observed growing up. You know, those same group of people, you know, wouldn't turn around and try to make it out like the men of that type of culture or group of people wasn't nothing. You know, they respected the men, you know, allowed the men to be men. You know, while they was women and did what women did. You know, all the other cultures, and yes, I'm speaking about the black culture. If anybody's lost in the dark, I'm talking about my culture, black culture. You know, and I'm talking about other ethnic groups. You know, they didn't, like I said, the women didn't sit around and, you know, talk a lot of nonsense, a lot of foolishness, you know. And they sure didn't down the men. You know, like I said, they wasn't sleeping around with each other's friend's husband or somebody else's man, or trying to scope out another man or nothing like that. Nah, you know, and for that reason, you know, the men didn't turn around and treat some of them women like the men in our culture did, which was no respect. Cause a man can't take you serious if you see that you'll sleep with another woman's husband or man, or you'll scheme and plot to jump around to different men. You know, why would he take you serious when you don't show no love, appreciation, value for yourself? You got no type of awareness and knowledge of your purpose here and trying to fulfill it. You know, but you know, how can you expect a man to take you serious? That, you know, of course, like always, you know, it'd be turned around and it'd be the man's fault. You know, when ain't no man gonna take a woman serious like that. That's wore out below the belt line. I'm talking about that passion fruit. I'm talking about that vagina, as well as spiritually and physically wore out. You know, because all the drinking, partying, smoking, and eating unhealthy, and all the woods running out in and out of that passion fruit, it's all wore out, stretched out. You know, most men that got themselves together and got some senses about themselves ain't gonna try to follow up in that. You know, and some of you women that did have class and pride about yourself, you didn't want to get with a man that was out here like that either. So, you know, it's understandable. But what's sad is the effects that's not seen, you know, or not paid attention to. You know, that same individual, that same woman, you know, walk around sad and lonely, still passing down this thinking to the next generation, which is their daughters, you know, or their granddaughters, which is the generation after the next generation. And like I said, try to make it out like man is worthless. You know, when the truth was, grandma or mama, you know, you was loose like that. You know, that's what you live for, the party every night or certain days of the week, and most definitely on the weekend. You know, even even to the point, you leave your child in the house, especially for the single ones, single mothers and only one child. Yeah, especially for that group. Not saying it all wasn't on their job, but the majority of them wasn't, because they were still doing them. I always feel that even around me, people that I know that was single mothers, most definitely raising a son or a daughter, it's only about a handful of them that I've seen that was about their business with their kids. They really invested a lot of time, money, and energy in making sure their kids was in the right programs, around the right environment, and supporting their child. But for the other majority, they follow after their parents, their mothers. They showed them the same thing, in and out of the clubs, hanging out all types of nights and late nights, and different dudes coming in and out. They hearing them in there getting their back blown out when they think the child is asleep, which that should have been a no-no in the first place. Because we all was kids, no matter what your age group is. You always, all as one of my people say, all closed eyes are not sleep. So, but yeah, this is some of the things that generation from the 50s and 60s is what they done. And like I said, don't let them be a single mother or a mother that never had a good man in their life, and their daughter happened to get one, had kids with, trying to raise a family with, they try to pass that same old washed up, only one part of three side story down to their daughters, and try to make them think that men are nothing more than a nice sized penis, good looks, street dude with that's a personal walking bank as well as personal slave for a woman. And sadly to say, even with that, those women that think like that, most times they ain't got a whole lot to offer a decent man, because they washed up, spent all that time getting high, drinking, partying, screwing, wore out spiritually, physically, and that passion fruit or vagina is stretched and wore out. I don't care what people say, what they used to try to say. Vinegar don't bring it all back. It don't bring the snap back in all situations for a long period of time of getting that thing beat up and stretched out by multiples. Ain't no vinegar gonna help that. If anything, it's gonna strip it from its natural, and cause more harm than good. And to add salt to that, with these type of women in that generation that did all that partying and hanging out and getting high and screwing, they still may walk around like that. That passion fruit below the belt is still some good. It might be wore out, stretched out, dry, lazy, even trying to get some top, neck and jaw locking up, gotta walk in the group that you are, be who you are, and most definitely try to do better. What I say is sad. Some of them still walk around here trying to hang out in their 50s and 60s, want to be in the club with the 30s and some of the 40s, and most definitely some of the 20-year-olds looking for a young man to poke on that thing, and it goes the same for some of these men too. I ain't leaving the men out now. Some of them is pathetic with it too, from that generation, talking all loud, trying to be flashy, almost both women and men in that generation looking like lightweight pervs, trying to scoop up something 20 years younger, or 30 years younger, or younger than that, because they want to poke in something, or for the women, they want something to poke in them. Women walking around here dressed up and still trying to act young. Another thing that I can relate, I can understand, but I don't understand. So it's a double-edged sword on that. If you in your 50s and 60s, you shouldn't be getting no tattoos unless they got significant meaning. And with them having significant meaning, that means that they're not going to necessarily be on display. And hence the reason significant meaning, it means something to you, nobody else. So therefore, what difference do it make for it to be shown or seen by anybody else? But I find that to kind of be, just part of that generation that's spoiled and selfish generation that still think they're young, still try to do and portray like they're young, and their bodies most definitely show it, as well as their facial and everything else if they ain't took care of themselves. Still try to dress young. No, Grandma, your chest don't sit up like it used to. Don't try to wear the low-cut shirts. You shouldn't wear that anyway. If you got any class or respect about yourself, you shouldn't be trying to wear the tight exercise pants. Nobody should be wearing them. Truthfully, unless they got them covered up with some shorts because they going to work out. But I'm just saying, you're in a certain age group, you're not young no more. Same go for the men. Don't try to hang out and talk all fly and dress like the young dudes and all that. Nah, you can still have your own little swag, and it ain't got to be, long, what they call it, on the long zoo suit type of situation. You can still be, a wise man, but still got flavor and swag. Don't try to be like these young boys, or even my generation. Just be you, because the truth of the matter, for both the men my age and younger and the women my age and younger, we still looking for guidance. We still want to see how we supposed to grow older and be wiser and carry ourselves with class and dignity, and substance. So when we see you in the clubs, that's our age group hanging out, you acting and trying to dress and act like you cool or whatnot, you down with us or whatnot, it don't look tasteful to you at all or on you. You can still be yourself and fit in and come through for a couple of drinks or whatnot, but still be classy, dress with class and carry yourself with class and wisdom. So when we see you come through, we say, look at old school, he dude fly, man. When we see the young women, look at that older woman. Man, she older, but she carry herself with class and style, Not trying to be like us, because we're gonna look at you like, look at this. This is what we got to look forward to, what we supposed to look up to and respect. And talking about respect, that's a whole nother subject, but we can talk a little bit about it. That same spoiled and selfish generation, expect my generation and the younger generation to give them some type of respect when they don't even give it, nor do they give it to themselves. But they most definitely don't give it. And that's something that I find crazy. Once again, you're supposed to be teaching us and showing us. Not thinking that just because you older, you can bully, or you got something over us because you older. Nah. And for you men out there in that generation, the 50s and 60s era, last thing you should be doing is getting yourself in debt unless it's over something that's gonna make you more money. You know, I hope that I never be that type of wiser man that go out here buying things and, you know, investing my money, because that's how I look at my money. Anything that I spend on, I look at it as an investment. So, you know, I hope that I don't be older in life and wiser in life and go out here just blowing money on foolish things that's gonna lose value, whether you drive it off the lot, whether you take it out the store, whatever, and most definitely not have a payment attached to it. By that age, you know, I hope I'm wise enough to recognize, you know, if I'm gonna put money into something, I'm gonna put money into something that I'm making payments on and is losing value, and the payments and the interest that they making off of me is never changing, while the item that I purchase is losing value. You know, that don't make no sense, you know. But I see a lot of men and women in that generation, they do that. You know, I don't know if it's to make themselves feel good, if it's their second childhood, since that is the spoiled generation. You know, maybe they're going through their second phase, they still want to be fly, whatever. You know, but the reality of it is, you losing all the way around from the interest steady being collected with the payment. You know, if you got it like that and you trying to floss, just buy it straight out. You know, but I would hope that you would want to invest your money into other things, you know. Trying to see what you can buy that can make money. You can go into business with your kids, you know. Help them start, you know, building a legacy. You know, hell, even maybe put some money to the side and set some type of funds up for your grandchildren. You know, so they can either go to school, take a trade, or get a trade, or, you know, if they got a good business idea by the age 25, set it up for them to get it when they're 25 or 30, when you think they might be mature enough, if you've been around to properly, once again, show them how to love themselves, how to appreciate life, how to know their purpose. So when they get up to 25, 30, you got that nice piece of change sitting in a fund that then collected, you know, a lot of growth throughout the years. They can take that money, knowing, you know, that their grandparents left that behind for them to make the best out of it, and taught them how to make the best out of it, you know, and that can help carry your legacy on. But no, you know, I forgot what generation I'm talking about. I'm talking about the selfish generation, the me, the spoiled ones. I remember some years ago, a woman, you know, that was it might have came from the 30s, 20s or the 30s, maybe a little bit older era of people, you know. She had said one time to me, she said, you know, I can't understand why my children is acting like kids, you know, or acting like little children or little kids. And, you know, I responded to her, just letting her know, well, I mean, when you growed up in that generation where you were spoiled on all types of areas in life, all levels of areas of life, you know, it's like, what do you expect? You know, the truth of the matter is, that generation never grew up, you know, not to a fresh or another level of life, you know. So yeah, and let's think about something real quick, because this is something I always heard growing up or being up into that generation, something that would always be spoke about like it was something to be proud of. You know, you hear parents or, you know, grandparents from that era talking about how much they spoiled, you know, their child or their grandkids. You know, they can come to them for anything. They got them. And that's good if it's something of substance, if it's for the right thing, and you hold them accountable. but you gotta hold yourself accountable too. That's another thing. But I think people fail to realize that word spoiled. That's not a good word for any generation to use when describing a intentional situation that they didn't put a person into. Because when you think about spoiled, the word itself, none of us is going to drink spoiled milk or eat spoiled or rotten food. So why would you purposely put someone that you say you love in a condition or a personal imprisonment? And like I stated before, I understand. Maybe because you were spoiled. You're that spoiled generation, so, there's nothing to you. But for you to purposely make someone no good for themselves or no one else in life. Now, I do understand, we all want to be able to provide a better life for our children. And, what we couldn't do for our children, maybe do a little bit more for our grandchildren. But it's a balance. You gotta have some purpose in there, sprinkled with some means of substance and nutritions for the actions and the rewards of that grandchild. Not just because. There's gotta be a nice balance of flavor in there. Another thing that I find crazy too is with that generation, they had no problem like bragging on the wrong image of some of their kids, but most definitely of their grandkids, And like I said, this is not all in that era, of the 50s and 60s, but majority. And the ones that ain't this way, they know who I'm talking about, and the ones that is this way, they might be getting offended, but it is what it is. Like I said, this is what was shown to me and what I heard. This ain't what I'm just making up. So, get mad at yourself. Get mad at the other ones in the generation that showed me this, that let me hear this. But the other crazy thing about it is, or about that generation, they're so proud to brag on their own characteristics, especially if it's a grandmother talking about her grandson. Oh yeah, he gonna be a ladies' man. All the girls gonna like him. And it's like, here you are. You didn't, most likely, you haven't been married and not married, or still with the person that you got your virginity broken with. You done had more than 2 handfuls and feet full of lumber rolling through you, or in and out of you, and you done been a witness, as well as in some cases a part-time victim. I say part-time because it was your responsibility to do what was right for you, for yourself and with your body, and with those that was deserving of it. But you'll brag on your grandson, or about being a ladies' man, about being a real hood man, or a real thug, or a real gangster, whatever, and don't hold them boys accountable, because what you celebrating and bragging and so happy about, you was the woman on the receiving end of that at one point in time. You was the one that was with a dude that was a street dude, that was a ladies' man, and got your heart broke, left with all the responsibilities of the kids. Like, why would you applaud that? Why would you think that's cute? you know? And then you know what he's gonna have to deal with. You know, being a street dude, being a ladies' man. Okay, you a ladies' man, and you got many kids out here. Probably by different women. You didn't get your mind and your money right first. So that means these kids is not being able to afford, or you can't afford to give these kids a proper life. And what I mean by proper, I don't mean all the latest Jordans or whatever coming out. They got. I'm talking about being to go to a school that can help bring out their purpose of why they're here. Help expose them to things that can be a tool in their book bag of life. Being able to afford for them to be in a decent environment to be raised in. You know, so you setting these young boys up because they your grandchild. They gonna be a woman killer. You know, have all these kids and can't provide for them. If they out here in the streets, we all know what's going. You know, it's three options out of that. You know, only a few get to make it to the third, but the first, the most definitely two, is a lot of jail time or dead. You know, but you know, I done heard that many times how, you know, grandparents, most definitely grandmothers, brag on this. They think it's cute for their grandson to be this. You know, and like I said, they was that young woman at one time dealing with a man like that broke their heart, that left them with all that responsibility with those kids or that one child. And you think it's cute. Then they'll turn around and have a granddaughter and be talking that same stuff with her. Oh, she gonna have all the men. Ooh wee, that's my grandbaby. Look at her. You know, she gonna be killing them out there. You know, I see you, girl, helping them. You know, supporting the makeup, the big eyelashes that ain't real, the tight-fitting outfits. You know, supporting all that. And once again, you was a woman at one point in time yourself. You was a young lady at one point in time yourself. You knew how it was when you got to a certain age and these older men and young men your age is just aggressively approaching you, trying to get at you, trying to take your innocence or wanting a piece of your innocence with no good intentions to leave behind. You know what that felt like. You know what it felt like to be on the receiving end of being the one that was abused, verbally, physically. You know what it's like to be on the end of that, taking care of a child by yourself. No type of help from the father, because the father ain't nowhere around. He wasn't about nothing, because you didn't choose properly. You know, very rare situations a man get taken out early in his life. You know, accidents. But most times, this is the end result on welfare. You know, get pregnant at a young age, so your life is on hold. You know, can't enjoy being grown and free of responsibilities besides yourself. You know what that's like. But here you are, you promoting it and celebrating it. You know, it's sad and sickening. Sad and sickening. And again, what makes it sad and sickening, this is your extinction of you as a grandparent, as a grandmother, as a grandfather. You know, this is an extension of you. This is your legacy. You know, and you celebrate and you applauding the foolery. You know, the traps. You know, but I guess it's to be expected from that era. Because if you didn't know how to love yourself, you wasn't spending your times and your youth trying to navigate and see what your purpose is. You didn't know how to appreciate life and value yourself. And yeah, this is what you're gonna pass down. That you think is cute, even though you've been through it and you know it ain't cute. You got first-hand experience. You know it's not cute. pass this down and applaud it from your granddaughter, your grandson. You know. But like I said earlier, you know, it's sad to say, you know, it's like, you know, what was done to you, and for that reason, you know, to me it smells like another selfish act. To me, you know. I know it's still cute, huh? Still tastes good, still smell good, huh? Yeah. And yes, you know, I left out the man on that one. I geared it. A lot of this is geared towards the women, you know, but I'm you know, I put in the man in there too. It's a lot in that generation that's selfish, you know, that didn't hold themselves accountable, didn't play their role at helping out with the responsibility. So, you know, this whole segment ain't about women, you know, but, you know, majority rules, you know. In this case, you know, in this situation, you know, I didn't get too much on the men, you know, because hell, a lot of us, you know, once we become aware of what's going on around us, you know, hey, remember, you know, it comes straight out y'all's mouth. A man run like a bus stop. You know, a man ain't shit. You don't need us. And you're more important, smart, and powerful than us, right? So, you know, this is why I'm holding y'all accountable, since y'all the ones that got all those things and we ain't nothing. You know, and to be truthful, when you a man my age or older, and you in that position, or you know that this type of image is predicted of you, you know, as well as your kids, and you heard this about you, or try to have this image put off in their mind about you, you know, we really ain't got no room to continue lying and paint no pretty picture, you know, or put no sugar on no boo-boo. You know, those two ingredients don't mix. So when we in that type of position, we most likely to keep it truthful, you know, with our kids, our grandkids, you know, because we already got the odds and the deck against us, you know. What is lying and you know, feeding the next generation a bunch of BS gonna do? And we already know they ain't gonna halfway listen to us anyway. They don't believe in us anyway like that, because y'all don't. Y'all let it be known. You know, like I said before, it's always a man's fault. And then it's held accountable for everything. You know, I rarely hear any women hold other women accountable, or women holding themselves accountable of some of this foolishness that was brought about in our culture. But in that situation, most men, they'll just stay away or keep their mouth shut and just, you know, do what they do to maintain. Whether it's stay high, drunk, or just stay away busy doing things. You know, some is very fortunate to have a very supporting and loving wife or maid of many years that, you know, they didn't raise their kids and their grandkids up with. But like I said, it's very rare. Very rare, you know. I'm gonna go ahead and let this dish here marinate, you know. Let it sit in the cooler on the fridge overnight. Let them those herbs and seasonings that I just laid out, I'm gonna go ahead and marinate up in that food for your thoughts. Let that marinate on your mind. But I'm gonna continue on. We're gonna come back and wrap up the dish and get it cooked up right. So until then, just chill, let it marinate. And I'll be back with another food for your thoughts dish on this topic. finish up this gourmet meal here.